All right, we are here. It is Tuesday. Let's wait till everything comes up here. Do 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 do. Come on, there we go. There's the screen. Maybe. All right, I can. Undercover says 5x5, 2XK, Rosie, Cat Lady, Joseph, Pennsylvania Mama Bear. All right, so let's hope the sound is good. I made sure to check on that again. So, all right, happy Tuesday night, gang. Kind of weird because trying to get used to this time change. Just dark now. It's like okay, but is what it is. It's confusing the dogs more than me. It's like all right, they're like it's time to go out. Like, wait a minute, this and then it's like oh yeah, it's an hour later than what they're used to. And it's like okay, they're like I ain't getting out of bed yet. So but yes, as we move along, I'd still love to see them do away with. I mean, pick one. Let's go on standard time. Let's go on daylight savings time. Just pick one and let's stop this stupidity of changing clocks. Okay. Medically, it's proven that it's not good for people. I mean, let's stop this. We don't need it anymore. We live in a 24/7 society anyway. So, moving on along. Finally, we had some nice weather today. It's been warm and got out there tilling gardens today so I can get to planting. I got to get my onions in the ground. Funny is, Mrs. P and I were out looking at the yard. Our plum trees have budded. So I'm like, okay, it's the 10th of March or 11th of March. And I got buds on plum trees. It's like, we know we're going to have cold. So just buds. I don't need them to go to flower. Hopefully we got that. But yeah, just nice. It was nice to get my hands in the dirt today. Other than just seed starting mix and stuff like that, to actually start working my garden. So tomorrow we'll go out and rake it all out and lay down some ground cover, some weed barrier, and get our onions in the ground so those can get going. So at least have those started. My cabbage are growing along nicely in the greenhouse. My beets have come up, so that is all good. So those will go in the ground here, albeit late, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, get those things going. See, Juju Mama say her peaches are blooming. I'm hoping you're way south of me. So, but no, peach tree, pear trees, apple trees, cherry trees, pomegranates. What else do we have out there? Christ, I don't even remember. Nothing else had buds on it. So persimmons, that was another one we've got in there. Planted that one last year, so I'm not expecting anything yet. But yes, so in the world of fun today, it took not long for, I think I was telling you guys this morning about Canada and their idiotic idea to tax the electricity up for Michigan, Minnesota, New England, that sort of stuff, 25%, Doug Ford. And kind of what I said, Trump was going to hit him right back. I thought he'd do it on the pipelines and the oil. He went with the steel and the aluminum and said, okay, we'll just raise the tariffs on steel and aluminum to 50%. Doug Ford caved in about 4 hours. Said, well, we'll take those tariffs off. Okay, we'll drop back to 25% and stay there. I get a kick out of this. It's like Donald Trump is playing with 4 kings in his hand and everybody else has aces and eights. It's like, trust me, you're gonna lose. It's just, and it isn't just because it's Trump. It could be anybody who's got a little bit of business acumen and goes, okay, you're negotiating from a losing position. You're talking to the most powerful country in the world who you have been screwing for decades. It just pisses me off. The rest of the world just thinks we're a piggy bank. And, oh, we'll just get money from America. We'll just get money from America. We don't need to manage our country correctly, our finances. We'll just get money from America. Sorry, the bank's closed and it's just freaking people out. So, so that was that. But the classic today, I don't know if you caught this one. This was in one committee in the House, and Keith Self, who chairs the committee, recognized Tim McBride, okay, congressman from Delaware who dresses in a dress and wants to be referred to as Sarah, and the Republicans refused to. And so they acknowledged him and said, okay, Mr. McBride, how would you like this? And the Democrats lost their shit. You're insulting. Nope. I'm just stating what the law is, that there's two genders and it's not changeable and yada yada. And the Democrats are just freaking out. It's hilarious watching this. They're finally getting a taste of their own medicine, all the crap that they put us through for 4 years with the misgendering and lawsuits and all this sort of stuff. And no, Mr. McBride, you may speak. And the Democrats raised so much hell, they adjourned the meeting. Okay, because Mr. McBride, you're not speaking. So that was that one. But yeah, it's an interesting day. The continuing resolution on the budget did pass the House. It'll go to the Senate, where it probably won't pass because you've already had, I think it was Rand Paul who said he's not going to pass it, or he's not going to vote for it. So that means we need 8 Democrats to vote for it, which probably won't happen. Because if they don't, we start going into partial government shutdown on Friday. And you know what? You can blame the Democrats. And you know what? If they shut down the government, that's fine by me too, because that means no money's getting spent. So they're in a damned if we do, damned if we don't situation. They've done so much damage to their brand, and it's like when you're in a deep hole, stop digging. And they're like, "Can we get a bigger shovel?" It's just hilarious watching some of this stuff. But so we'll see what happens as the week goes on. That was about it. So, all right. Oh yeah, Hat says they're going after the DOE, Department of Education. Yeah, I guess a whole bunch of people were told, about half of them, you're going to be out of a job. You're going to get RIFed, and then you're going to get fired. RIFed is reduction in force for those guys who don't know government acronyms. And then you're going to be terminated. So good. And I agree with Trump. Send the educational material back to the states. And I know there's people out there, you see them who go, oh my God, can you imagine going to school in California and what they're going to be taught? The same stuff they're being taught now. It's just the 35 red states aren't going to have to be taught the same stupid shit that California, Massachusetts, New York, and Chicago are teaching. So, yeah, maybe we'll start having states go, you know what? Rather than teach these kids for 6 months on transgender ideology, maybe we'll teach these kids how to balance a checkbook or how compound interest works, skills that you might actually use in your life. Because honestly, when I see a tranny, it's like, I'm not going to participate in your fantasy, and I'll call you sir or ma'am, and when you're pissed off, I'm just going to laugh at you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to cater to your delusional and your mental illness. So, and I don't think the kids should have to either. So, all right, let us get into Q&A like we normally do. As usual, if you have questions for me, please put them in all caps. This makes it easier to find in the chat room. And you guys know I wholeheartedly encourage everybody to talk amongst themselves. Please keep it in lowercase letters. Keep an eye on chat, especially if you have a question, because somebody else may have an answer, a better answer, or maybe I don't know, maybe I don't get to your question. So keep on your eyes on the chat in there too. It's kind of the whole point of being here is for us to exchange information with one another. It's not a one-way street. So please do that. And as you guys well know, there's only one rule on this channel, and that's treating everybody with respect. Your fellow viewers there in the chat room and me. Okay. It was like somebody made a comment on today's video, and he's like disagreeing with me on what I said. And he goes, "I'll bet you either don't reply to this comment or delete it." Like, no, I'm going to give you a reply, and I'm not going to delete it. And I said, "You didn't do anything wrong. You stated your case. That's fine. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. Okay, you're here because you wanted to hear my opinion. That was it. So, and I'm perfectly happy listening to yours. I may not agree with you, but you're entitled to it. You're just not entitled to be an asshole. That I won't put up with." So, all right, let's scroll back up to the top here and see what's on y'all's mind, and we'll get the show on the road. All right. That prep rebel, a dog's stomach clock is never wrong. Tell that to Daphne. Daphne's the one that, like everybody else has multiple dogs. Okay, and every time I've had multiple dogs in my life, it's always been this way. One's a picky eater and one's a chow hound, and that's what we got here. Daphne will go days. She's like, "I don't feel like eating." Copper's like, "Oh my God, I haven't eaten in 15 minutes. Where's my food?" So, Krista Cat, my peach tree is wall to wall buds that'll open too soon. Sigh. I don't know where you are, but that sucks. Maybe you get lucky and get some peaches, but yeah, that's the last thing I want to see right now is my peach tree start blooming, because I mean, our last frost date here is supposedly the end of April. So, I mean, I got 6 weeks till that's done. I don't want to see my peach tree bud yet. And then, of course, if it does, I want to know where my peaches go this year. Okay. Deborah, East Tennessee, 65. Hello, everyone. So I've read a lot of comments that brown dust might hinder our growth in our gardens this year. What do I think? I have no idea what brown dust is. I mean, if it's something that's coming in sprayed from the air, if that, I can't give you an answer because I have never heard of what you're asking about. I'm sorry. Maybe somebody else knows. Romy Davis, my fig tree is coming on strong. Again, I'm betting you're a lot further south than us. My fig trees are the last things to bloom every year. Every year, I think they've died over the winter because they won't bloom for me until May, at mid-May, before I even see any growth on them. And then they go nuts. James Trump 24 price. Is Doug Ford still smoking that crack? Apparently. He's a good friend, Hunter. Hedge 774. What happened to the prime minister saying, like in hockey, when it comes to trade, Canada wins? Remind me the last time a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. Canada doesn't know a whole lot about winning in politics and economics, or lately in hockey. So, coming up and saying that they're like in hockey, trade, Canada wins. Canada's been winning a lot because they've been screwing the U.S. The one that I got a kick out of, how Canada put this 25% tariff on the United States, or counting it and pouring all the liquor out, not buying any American products. Did you notice the other day China put a 100% tariff on Canada 4 times? And Canada hasn't said a word about bitching because they know they need all that cheap junk from Canada because they can't produce it. So they need it from somewhere. If they can't get it from the US, they're going to have to get it from Canada or from China. It's like digging a hole, further and further and further. Liberalism. They can't think past here. Who's your daddy? We put pine needles in our strawberry garden last winter. Do we need to take them off now? Yes, because the pine needles will start to form a mat. And you know how strawberries grow? They grow from runners. They need to be able to get out and get above it, depending on how heavily you put your pine needles on there. I would get them out as best you can. My strawberries have already started coming up. I mean, they're teeny tiny, but if you put anything on in the way of ground cover or something like that, you're better off removing it. And I know there's going to be people that disagree with me. Okay. If you want more strawberries, don't restrict the growth, because you know how strawberries go. They go crazy, runners and new shoots, and you know, coming up. You want those young, tender new shoots to be able to come up because they'll produce strawberries. You know, you don't want them to get smushed out by any sort of mulch. Okie Forge. Trump always negotiates from a position of strength, or not at all, which is business 101. Okay, negotiation 101. I mean, the guy knows how to negotiate. I mean, he's made a couple of bucks in a business career. Okay, he's been negotiating with politicians for 40 years, you know, dealing with regulations and building commissions and utility commissions and God knows what. He knows what's going on. It's not like this guy just fell off the turnip truck. You know, he knows what's going on. He knows how to negotiate. And as you said, in a position of strength, you're the president of the United States. You start in a pretty damn strong position because, as I've said many times, the rest of the countries in the world kind of need us. We don't need any of them. You know, it, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to puff out my chest, you know, like Zelensky going, I'm an important world leader. I mean, I care about, you know, have about as much authority in the world as the guy who runs Bimini. So, you know, nobody gives a shit. Wanda Anthony, will Trump still reconfigure electricity in Michigan, et cetera, to avoid this issue in the future? Yes, he said that this afternoon. That's what makes it even funnier, because Doug Ford, again, stepped on it so bad. It's like, oh, okay. So now you're going to bring this to the forefront and make it obvious that you think you're important, that, you know, your ship. I mean, first off, I want to give you this, how much electricity that we get. 0.75% of the electricity that is used up in New England, Michigan, et cetera, is from Canada. Less than 1%. Okay. So it's not like this is some great bargaining tool that they're using. I mean, it's a pittance as is. And now that it's kind of been put on the table, Trump's looking at it. Remember, this is the guy who wants us to be energy independent. Electricity's energy. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can restructure this and restructure that, and we can move up the electricity from here to there. Hey, Canada, we don't need you. You know, this is the thing. It's like, okay, Doug Ford just did the greatest thing he could do to get Canada to lose money, because now what he's going to get is whatever tariffs he wants on zero, because eventually, probably pretty quickly, we won't be buying any electricity from Canada. Gee, you know what? Maybe we'll just build a new nuclear power plant and that'll solve everything. Would that surprise you if Trump did that? Wouldn't surprise me. You know, why can't we build them? Because as he said before, you know, stuff that should spend 10 days going through regulatory approval takes 10 years until you drop all the regulatory approval bureaucracy and you get it to work efficiently. And gee, maybe we could have a plant up pretty quick. Okay, we talked about that one. Caveman Luck. My take on the aircraft carrier hit, then the country refusing to refusing to refuel ships, and now a ship hit sank carrying jet fuel. Okay. Basically, I'll touch on this one because the other stuff is old news at this point. Uh, the whole thing with was it Denmark or Finland or whatever it was, saying they weren't going to fuel ships. That's already been turned. Same thing again. Trump's like, all right, if you don't want to do this, we're going to stop this. They're like, oh, nope. You know what? We'll be fueling ships starting tomorrow. So that wasn't it. The interesting one was the ship collision that you had. Was it about 4 miles off the coast of England? Literally, where you had one ship T-bone another. Who the hell is driving a ship? I mean, now granted, you can't stop these things on a dime. Okay, you can't turn them quickly, but you have radar. I don't care. I mean, it's England. Okay, so maybe it was foggy as F. So what do we have? A captain of both these ships who do not know how to read radar? I mean, this was gross negligence on both parts. When you're way apart, gee, there's something coming at us. Let's turn, 90 degrees so they're behind us. Or, gee, I'm coming up on something. Let's turn early. Not, gee, we're 50 feet. I mean, what do we have? The captain of the Titanic running this stuff? I'm waiting to see how much DEI was the captains of these ships. Because we're certainly not talking about qualified people. Von Mousetrap. Hey, welcome back. Have I heard federal employees had their taxpayer-funded lunch cards taken away? The court said, give them back. Mr. T gave them back. Okay. This wasn't lunch cards. This was credit cards. And according to what the GAO said, that on average, each government employee had 2 government credit cards. I mean, we have twice as many credit cards issued to government employees as there are government employees. Okay, so that's where that comes from. And so Doge and Elon Musk and his whole team went and found this out and said, why do we have this many credit cards? It's like, some secretary in the Department of Education does not need to have a government sponsored credit card, to, again, go to lunch, buy drinks at the bar at 3:30, happy hour for Washington. Gee, I need a new pair of shoes. So they canceled all these credit cards until, of course, the Democrats said you can't do that, took it to court, and a judge ruled, nope, you can't cancel all these credit cards. Okay. So they just got a hold of the bank and said, here's a whole list of credit card numbers. Please reset the credit limit on every one of them to $1. Still have your credit card. That's fine. You're just not buying your lunch, buying your groceries, buying your new shoes, paying your bar tab on the government taxpayer's dime. And I mean, this is the corruption. I mean, Trump said for 8 years now, drain the swamp. It ain't a swamp. It's a freaking sewer. And I mean, what he's doing, personally, I don't think it's enough yet. We need to burn it down. I mean, literally everything gone. This agency no longer exists. This agency no longer exists. This agency no longer exists. Okay, what are the bare bones people that we need to run this? Okay, we have 6,000 employees. Good. Let's see if we can get it down to 6, and then we'll find out what positions we actually need. Something like that. Country Humans Network. My wife took the kid to a school where the director said her pronouns, she, her, hers. In my opinion, nope. I'm assuming that's a statement because I don't see a question in there. So, okay. LG girl, Rosie O'Donnell moved to Ireland. Yeah, I saw this. What was it, January 10th or January 15th or whatever? She moved to Ireland. And all the jokes, of course, came out that, Rosie O'Donnell must be on the Epstein list. I'm thinking that's the only freaking way that woman's ever getting any, you know, if she pays for it. But, good. I Ellen DeGeneres left, Rosie O'Donnell left. Hey, Cher, why are you still here? Joy Behar, why are you still here? Y'all were leaving. Please do us. We aren't complaining. We're happy to have you leave. Still, uh, Lady Luger, we get this question every once in a while. Any idea how to get rid of chipmunks and voles? Dog. If you get a small dog, a terrier type dog that are rat hunters, if you will, or they're rodent killers. Uh, that's going to be your best bet. I mean, now Daffy loves to chase the chipmunks. She's caught 3 of them. It's always funny when she catches them. She doesn't know what to do with them. We tell her to drop the chipmunk. She drops the chipmunk. Chipmunk runs away. She catches them. She doesn't kill them. She gets them, and she's like, "What do I do now?" It's like the game's over. Uh, but yeah, you get yourself some of these terriers, and I mean, they'll go digging the chipmunk holes or the vole hole. That's the best answer I give you. Is you're going to have to introduce a predator. Rick's Corner. Hey, Pinball, what about home title lock? Okay, this is in my opinion, and again, I'm going to leave that there as this is my opinion. Home title lock is one of the biggest scams out there. Okay, y'all have bought a house, and you know what it's like to get a title search done on a house. You got to get a title company involved. It costs money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, signatures and all this. And this home title lock company is saying they just have to print out a form on the internet and take it to the county and they can take possession of your house. No, they can't. Okay. Unless you have completely idiotic county members that are going, "Oh, your name is Bob Jones and you just bought the house from, Ed Smith. Can I see the receipt?" "Well, I don't have one." "Can I see the mortgage paperwork?" "I paid cash." "Oh, really? What you slipped him a suitcase of money and he didn't give you a receipt?" I mean, it's so stupid. It's meant to prey on the elderly to pay for some sort of insurance that you don't need because it's not possible. Uh, Trying to steal somebody's house like that, I've yet to hear one verified case where it's happened. But they'll put commercials up and everything. You need to do this. It's so easy to do it. Don't waste your money. Okay, my opinion. Oh, there we go. Okay, hang on. Harbor Prepper, thank you for the super chat. To clarify, the U.S. tanker Stena Immaculate was anchored and could not move. The Portuguese vessel so long as accused of not keeping proper watch and fog. Yeah. Okay. So basically exactly what I said. I got to go back to the top here and find out where we were. Do. Okay, we're close. Okay, there was that one. Brandy Belfast, did I enjoy living in New Hampshire? Okay, so let's go back. I lived in New Hampshire from 2010 to 2012. I lived in Dover for about 2 months. I lived in Newmarket for about 2 years. And this is right on the seacoast. So, you're talking about the southern tip of New Hampshire, along the very close to the Massachusetts border. Okay. I mean, from where I lived, I could be on the beach in 15 minutes and I could be in Massachusetts in 16 minutes. Uh, did I enjoy living there? That's kind of hard to say because when I moved there, was basically immediately after my divorce. Uh, my divorce was final. I think I've told you guys this before. I mean, that was one hell of a week. I had a colonoscopy, my divorce became final, and I got laid off uh, in the same week. Gotta love that week. Uh, and so then looking for a job, and of course, this was in the middle of the recession in 2009, and couldn't find anything. And finally, a guy offered me a job in New Hampshire. So I packed everything up. I drove to New Hampshire, got myself rented a apartment. I guess if you're, it's hard to say apartments when you talk about New Hampshire because you're not talking apartment complexes and stuff. It's houses that have been converted into apartments, if you will. So I rented this place for a month, and I got there on landed on Thursday. Went to go see him on Friday because I was supposed to start on Monday. And of course, after I get all in there, I go in to see the boss on Friday, say, hey, I made it. He tells me, oh, thanks for coming in. He goes, unfortunately, we can't have you start on Monday. The guy that you were going to support, sales guy, I was the recruiter, uh, quit. And so I don't have anybody free to work for. So I just moved 800 miles or whatever it was. And the job I had moved for disappeared. So then I had to find another job, which took me a couple of weeks. Fortunately, I was able to find one. It wasn't the greatest paying job in the world, so I was pretty much living easily paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I was making $30,000 a year, and my rent for a little one-bedroom studio was $600. I had my truck payment, and I had to pay child support. There wasn't a whole lot of money left for food. Uh, is the area pretty? Very much so. Is it expensive? Very much so. I met some really great people, and I met some really disgusting. I told you about the boss, who our insurance guy, this same company, our insurance guy comes back, and his office had a picture window, and our insurance guy comes up, and Mike doesn't put the blinds down. And he was watching porn on a big screen TV in his office. His guy comes up and see it all right through the picture window that faced out to the parking lot. So yeah, there's some very disgusting people out there too. But I think that you could say about anywhere. I liked it, except the winter. Winters up in New Hampshire sucked. That was, I mean, snow, and more snow. So uh, it was okay. I'm much happier in Tennessee. Put it that way. Long answer. Uh, New Jersey prepper, if you were just starting out in Florida, what would you plant as a food source? I've never lived in Florida, uh, so I couldn't tell you there. But if you're just starting out and you're down in Florida, you want the first things to plant fruit trees. Okay, you can grow them down there, and they are going to take the longest to produce for you. But if it's 3 years before you're going to get any fruit starting today, or 3 years starting next spring, get that done first. I would plant fruit trees first and then get in and start working soil. You're going to have to do a hell of a lot of work on your soil because Florida's got very sandy soil. I'm assuming. Okay. Again, I've never lived down there. But it's not like here, I've got heavy clay. But you're going to have to build that soil. So you want to start building your compost as quick as you can, get your fruit trees going, you know, and then if you're just starting out for saving uh, food, storing food, grow potatoes. Okay. You can grow lots of potatoes in a relatively small space and they store well. So, uh, John Zeckerly, what kind of stereo do I have? I haven't had a stereo in 30 years. I mean, my stereo was my phone with the Bluetooth speaker. That's it. So, yeah, I mean, as for anything else, no. What cabbage do I plant that grows quickly? I have grown, oh God, no, I can't think. It was a Jersey Wakefield, uh, those grow really well. And I forget the name of the one I'm growing this year, which is a little different. But cabbages are usually pretty good. You're, you'll get your cabbage in about 2.5 months. So because again, they're not going to grow into the heat of the summer. They're not going to like it. So you got to grow it early spring, i.e., now, or late fall. So, but most cabbages are around that 72 to 80 day uh, germination harvest. Inigo Montoya, any progress on filling the pond that's worth mentioning? Nope. The pump's still working, still going fine. So, but at the rate we're going, it's going to take 3 years to fill it. So Mrs. P and I are looking at more ideas. Norma, anyone grow potatoes in those potato bags on a patio? I can't have a garden. That works very well. Okay. Uh, just do not listen to the people that tell you that you're going to get multiple tiers of potatoes. You are not. Okay. You put one potato in, it's going to grow a plant out the top, it's going to grow potatoes underneath it. That is it. You aren't going to get multiple tiers. You don't need to get one of these 3 foot high bags. It's a waste of money. You get one of the bags that's maybe about 18 inches, plant your tomato or your potato in that, you're good. Okay. The Like I said, the guys that put out the YouTube videos and everything like that, those are so fake, so fraudulent, it's unbelievable. Potatoes don't grow like that. Get yourself a 18-inch bag, plant a potato in it. Just remember this, those black bags are black, so they will dry out a lot faster. So you're going to have to maintain the water. Don't have to be super wet. You don't want it because then your potatoes will rot. Okay. But make sure you are watering enough to keep that plant alive. The green. As long as the green looks good, you're good. You don't need more. Breed. Have I ever tried to grow a dwarf cherry? Lots of fruit. All my trees are dwarf, which is funny because they're 20 feet high. They're not 100 feet high. I've got two of them. They are called sweetheart cherries. And the reason I have those is they are sweet cherries, but they're the only cherry that I could even find that grows this far south. I mean, cherries are, you hear Michigan cherries or Washington cherries because they like that weather. The sweetheart cherries I can grow in my zone. So, yeah, uh, pie cherries you can grow a lot more here. Those will grow fine here, but I like sweet cherries, and so that's why we grow the sweetheart. Vicky, how is the carnivore diet coming now that the holidays are over with? I actually did okay during the holidays. I didn't gain any weight. So, I mean, that was, I mean, I was trying to be careful. I mean, again, I'm not the big sweets eater in the first place. So when people are putting pies and cakes and cookies and everything like that, that's not me. And then I still try to stay away from a lot of starches, though Mrs. P and I had shrimp and ramen for dinner tonight. So, eating ramen. But I mean, again, it's few and far between. Rarely am I eating any potatoes, nothing in the way of pasta. So I'm pretty good on it. I've got myself down. I'm hovering right at that high 270. I mean, I'll bounce between like 278 and 282 right now. So, it's still 30 pounds. Uh, Lisa Preps, have I grown a lemon tree from seed before? I did this summer. It's growing painfully slow, but it is growing. It's just normal. No, the only place I've ever been was when we lived in Vegas. We had a lemon tree. I bought the lemon tree at a nursery. I've never lived anywhere long enough where I could grow citrus. So, you know, trees are going to grow slow. So, yeah, you're the ones that you see, the little sticks that we see in the store, usually those trees are like 3 or 4 years old already. So, by the time you're talking about from seed to fruit, you're probably talking 7 to 10 years. But I commend you for giving it a shot. I'm just not looking at planting something from seed now going, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna harvest this when I'm about 70." No. I'm not waiting that long. Jacqueline Presnell. Good evening, Pinball. You did a video on pest control. Can you tell me how to prevent and get rid of squash bugs? The best solution for squash bugs is on your squash plant, wrap the base, where it's growing out of the ground from, wrap that in aluminum foil. I mean, and get up as high as you can before you start getting branches, if you will, on there. That's the best thing I have heard of or seen to prevent squash bugs, other than spraying them with chemicals, which we're trying to avoid. But just wrap them with aluminum foil. Montana Grizz fan. Hello from Montana. Our rescue doggo Argentino, German Shepherd, and Rottweiler are not picky eaters. Yeah, they don't mind if you're white, black, Hispanic, Indian, Portuguese. What? They'll eat anybody. Let's see. Susan M. Do I know if there's an app to pick the same stocks as Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw? Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the stupid thing of all these public officials who have to report what they buy. They don't have to report it for 30 days or 60 days until afterwards. And Nancy Pelosi's going, "Oh, we're voting on XYZ company next Tuesday." Well, the vote's going to go this way. So I'll buy options on XYZ today. I'll sell them next week. And then in a month, she has to report that she did it. And the play is already gone. Yeah, I mean, Nancy, you think Martha Stewart, they busted her for insider trading. I mean, come on. Is there anybody that honestly thinks that Nancy Pelosi is that good of a stock picker? That everything she touches. I mean, what was it? There was one she made the end of last week or whatever. They made $14 million in like 4 days because they bought a bunch of shares, a bunch of call options on a stock that there was something going up to be a vote on. And gee, miraculously, the stock went nuts. And remember, the whole market was down last week. You know, Sunny Honey, Patera had a video on brown dust. Okay, no, Patera would be a better person to ask than me at that question. Then, Deborah, East Tennessee again. It's the stuff that was okay. Brown dust again. The stuff that was falling from the sky. Kind of figured that. A lot of people were talking about it. Maybe something blew up in the sky. Again, I have no idea. And if Patera talked about it, ask her. She knows. I don't. Let's see. Brenda Norton. I work in the service industry. Please tell everyone to tip their servers. Groceries are expensive. Hope Trump takes off the 10% on tips and Social Security sooner than later. I'm going to agree to a point. Okay. I mean, I worked as a waiter, as a bartender for probably 3 years or so as I was going to college, right? And so I lived on tips, and I know that. And it was, go out afterwards. That's funny, Brenda. You can probably agree with me on this. The best tippers are always other people that work in the service industry. Okay? Just because they know. We all know, yeah, waiters, bartenders, everything like that. They all know they can tell if a customer is going to be a good tipper or a bad tipper as soon as they sit down. Okay? Attitude usually has a lot to do with it, personality. But tipping culture has gotten ridiculous, okay, to the point where, I mean, joke about Starbucks. Hi, can I get a large black coffee? Sure. Puts it in a cup, hands it to you. That'll be $8. Oh, and I want a tip too. For what? Okay, you didn't do anything. You go into the grocery store, and if you use the self-checkout lanes, I've seen this, they want to know if you want to tip the grocery store. Nobody did anything. I put all the groceries in my cart. I just scanned them all to pay my bill, and you want me to tip you? Okay. No. So, waitresses, bartenders, your barber, your cab driver. Uh, if you get the if you go to the airport and a guy shines your shoes, I mean, there are some that you tip, okay? But, when everybody is asking for a tip for not doing anything, no, I'm not going to agree with you at all, okay? I'm sorry, you work at McDonald's, you work at Wendy's, you work at Burger King, you don't deserve any tips, okay? Simply put, you didn't do anything. Then the other part, when you come into the waiters and this is basically restaurants, is the arrogance, the entitlement that they think they should get. Now, I was raised on 15% was standard, 20% if you got exceptional service. And that's how pretty much I tip. Okay? And then I'll round up, right? And you see these posts on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Don't go out to eat unless you can afford to tip 30%. Honey, if you want 30%, you better be spit polishing my shoes or giving me a blowy because I ain't tipping anybody 30% unless you're dabbing the gravy off of my cheeks as I'm eating, feeding me grapes, maybe. I'm not adding 1/3 to my bill because you managed to probably get my order wrong, or gee, you carried the food from the kitchen to my table. Thank you. No, no. It it drives me nuts when people think they're worth they're a little high on their worth. I mean, you guys have probably seen the story on what the hell is it? Angel Reese, the WNBA player, who's threatening to sit out the season unless she gets paid. The players all get paid what they're demanding. It's a league that's been in existence for 29 years, has never made a profit, and they're demanding a pay raise. No, sorry. I'm sorry. I will agree with you that service industry people should be tipped. Yes. But when they start asking for ridiculous amounts, no. And these places that start adding, a 3% service fee if it use a credit card. Well, I hate to tell you this, and I will tell the waitress too. Here's your tip. Go get the other 3% from the manager because I'm paying it on my credit card. Okay. This is it. You are not going to nickel and dime me to death. Southwest Airlines today, effective, I think the middle of May, is stopping their free checked bags. Okay. Guess what? Now you just become the same as Spirit or Frontier. There's no reason to fly Southwest anymore. Your tiny seats and everything like that, there's no benefit. Okay, so now you're just a discount airline with no service. Great. I'll pay for good service, but do not hand something in front of me and say, what would you like to tip? 25%, 30%, or 35%. And that's where I like the fourth button that says no tip. And then I'll put a $5 bill on the table and that's it. Yeah, maybe I piss them off, but it's no different than what Canada's trying to do. You're not going to milk me for everything. Maybe hey, we'll get enough. If we ask out of 10 people, we'll get one. Okay, great, you got one. I just ain't going to be the one. Original one shot, one kill. What's the secret to the universe? Not voting Democrat. Let's see. Josh Elkins, you and I could be friends. I'm from Vermont. Just wanted to say Bernie's an idiot. Ain't nothing I got to say. He's said it all. Hats. Doing sweet Spanish onion from seed this year. Any pointers? I've started some in the seed tray and saved the other seeds. Okay. When you get the onions, okay, make sure that as they're little seeds, make sure you're giving them haircuts. Okay. So you keep the greenery on it looking like grass. Okay. Maybe an inch and a half high. What you're eventually going for is you're trying to get a whole cluster of stuff like this. Okay. And there is an onion set. This is what you're trying to grow. Keep trimming them off as you can see. Like this one, I can trim off a couple of the brown ones right here. This and this. I mean, they'll just break right off because they're dead. No, that one's not going to want to. Okay, this one might. Yeah, that one did too. So, this is what I got left. That's what I want to plant. Onions are, the nice part about onions is they've got very thick roots. So when you grow them all in a cluster, you can start all your onion seeds in one pot. Run the, when they're ready, when you're ready to get them out of the pot and go plant them individually, just take the whole clump, go under the sink, under the hose, something like that, wash off all the dirt, and then just tease them apart. It's actually pretty easy to do if you are diligent about making sure to keep those seeds watered. If you let them dry out, they're done. Okay. Once you get them out, and in this case, I want them dry. I don't want them wet because now they're dormant. Linda Friesen, it's frustrating that no one in Trump's government is working on kicking out the lobbyists. Give him a little bit of time. He hasn't even been in for 2 months. I mean, we're still getting his appointees sworn in. So let him get the whole team going. I mean, and trust me, big frustrations I have primarily with Pam Bondi is the DOJ is not doing anything. We haven't seen any arrests. We haven't seen any Epstein files or anything like that, but we've seen plenty of, I'm going on Fox for an interview. No, you're the Attorney General of the United States. Start doing your flipping job. That's what you were hired for. That's what we voted for. If you can't do it, we'll find somebody else that can. All right. Pam Bondi's got to be on a real short leash because the public is already very pissed about her lies about I've got the whole Epstein file on my desk, and it turned out she didn't have shit. Mitchell Ruiz, how do I stop critters? I don't know what you mean by squalls. From eating my pears when blooming, unless those are birds or something like that. If you're trying to stop critters, i.e. insects, now I just lost what it's called. The powder. Somebody knows what I'm talking. I can't think of the name of it. It's the same stuff they use to make makeup, like foundation. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. It'll come to me. But that'll get rid of insects. The other thing, if you got birds, the only thing you're going to be able to do is put netting over it. That's it. So I'm going to take a guess, squalls or birds somewhere. Tom, what are my thoughts on the stock market recorrecting? I kind of talked a little bit about that today. We've got to get through this tariff stuff and everything because, again, like I said in the video this afternoon, as much as Scott Bessent is going to say, "Oh, there's no worry about inflation, no worry about a recession." Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I trust you as far as I can throw you. As I was saying, and as I said a few weeks ago when I talked about this, where you want to be putting money is gold and silver. And again, short term, granted only a few weeks since I said it, that's been the right move. If you had got out of equities and got into precious metals, you're making money, not watching it fly out the window. So we could be in for a short term. I'm betting this is a short term dip. Short term is like 6 months, guys. That we're not going to see it. I don't see any great shakes on the markets until fall at this point. The summers are usually pretty slow, and with the whole tariff stuff, there's more downside pressure on the markets than there is upside. Janet Briggs, my opinion on geoengineering, aka chemtrails. We've talked about this ad nauseum 100 times. I'm not going to go into it again. It's real. It happens. The states are trying to stop it. That's it. Game Spun. How long do I have to let my soil heal before planting anything in it after a year of a dog's using it to lay landmines? I think it's too fertilized. Serious question. No, I would assume that's a serious question. I'm assuming you went out and cleaned up a lot of it, that you're just not trying to till in all the dog shit into the yard. But obviously there's going to be some. But I mean, if you let it go over the winter and cleaned it up, because if you didn't, it's got to stink like anything. But get off as much as you can, you're fine. I mean, again, dog manure is not the best thing that you want, because you don't want to be using manures from meat eating animals, but it's not like you're pouring bleach all over your garden by doing it either. Fort Defiance 0311. Hey, Pinball, will you ask Mrs. P what the correct pronunciation of Kiev is? It is Kiev, Keev, like your second one there. It is not Kiev, like we've always been taught. It's Kiev. Okay, that is the correct pronunciation. Kiev sounds cool, but it ain't right. Whoops. Kalen Clay. Thank you. Sam Carpenter. Yes, I couldn't think of it. Yes, Kalen Clay. If you got bugs on your fruit trees or whatever, get some Kalen Clay and spray that on it. That's what it is. Thank you. So you guys got to understand. My mind has to go like 12 different. We're going to ask about ships, then we're going to ask about dog shit, then we're going to ask about fruit trees. And you lose it every once in a while. Shelly Frazier, any DIY ant deterrent to put around the kitchen? I have ants. Try this. Obviously, they're probably coming in from the door, okay? But wherever you think they're coming in from, sprinkle some cinnamon in the tracks to the door or something there. Or if they're coming in from under the stove or whatever, sprinkle some cinnamon down there. Ants hate cinnamon. That could work as a good deterrent for you. Okay, we are. Whoops. Diatomaceous earth. I talked about that the other day. Yeah, a bunch of you guys are saying something clay, not bentonite clay. No, kaolin clay. I'm trying to go back up here. Rummy Davis, anyone know what happened with Fort Knox? I do not think the audit team has gone in yet, but I know everybody's waiting for that one with bated breath. Caveman, look, Dan Bongino got the job to shut him up for talking bad. I don't think this is going to shut Dan Bongino up anymore. Now, instead of being the one in front of the microphone, he's going to have the one with the microphone put in front of his face. And Bongino, as much as I don't agree with his take on Rumble, most of the time he's pretty accurate. I mean, he will call a spade, and that is exactly what I want. I mean, I get a kick out of the congressman who, I think it was Schiff, who said it too. He doesn't have any qualifications to do this job. No, he's only a Secret Service agent, a New York cop. Yeah, I think he's more than qualified. Adam, please tell me what qualifies you to be in Congress. Nothing. So, all right, guys, that's 9 o'clock. I don't want to tap in on Angry Prepper, so have a good evening. We'll see y'all in the morning. Pinball out.